Hello, photographers. My name is Spyros Heniadis, and this is where I answer your photography questions. We learn about photography together, and it's Tuesday. I've got something special for you today. I had the opportunity to spend some time with the Fuji X-T1 camera. Now, instead of doing a review, I decided I was just going to shoot with the camera and show you guys the photo shoot. So what we did is we aimed to create this photo right here. Now, when we went into the shoot, I didn't know exactly how it was going to go. So you're going to see the entire process of me creating the shoot, shooting with the Fuji X-T1 camera. In the video, I'll talk a little bit about the camera, but more importantly, I'm focused on creating the shot, working with the model and working with the lighting to perfect the shoot. At the end of the video, I'll share my thoughts on using the X-T1 camera. Now, the model in the photo is the wonderful Angela May. She's a fantastic model. I love working with her. And before we jump into it, I just want to encourage you to check out her Model Mayhem, which I linked to down in the description. So without further ado, here we go. All right, so we're here and we're gonna set up this shot, and you're gonna get to see the entire process of creating this shot. And what we're looking at is trying to add some really dramatic shadow to the photo. So we're gonna start with one light, and you always start with one light, but before you start with that, you gotta set your ambient light shot. And I'm using the Fuji X-T1, and the X-T1 has a sync speed of 1/180th of a second when you're using the mechanical shutter. So my shutter speed is set to 1/180th of a second, and I want good, decent depth of field throughout the shot. So with this, I am shooting with an aperture of f8, and I might adjust that depending upon how the shot looks, but for right now, that's where I'm gonna start. And I'm using the base ISO, which on the X-T1 is ISO 200. So my first shot is actually gonna be a shot without flash, and I just am looking for a completely dark black shot, which I could actually see in the electronic viewfinder on the X-T1, which is really cool because that actually saves you a shot. When you're shooting with a DSLR or a camera that doesn't give you that live preview immediately, you actually got to take that photo. So now what I'm going to do is set up my first light, and then I'm going to be working with Angela, our model here today, to set the pose. So we're starting with one light in an umbrella off to the side to cast light on her so that it will throw some really dramatic shadows across her shape and her form. And I'm going to lower this down here. And my flash is currently set to 1/4 power, and I've got the flash zoom set as wide as it can be to fill the entire umbrella and diffuse the light as much as possible. So I'm going to set this over here, turn on the pocket wizard so it'll actually fire, something I always forget to turn on. Same thing on the camera, I got to turn that on now. Test fire just to make sure that the flash will actually fire, which it does. Perfect. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is just work on the pose, and we were working on the pose a little bit before we got started because it's a bit of a complicated pose, but we're going to do the best we can here in the studio to create the look that we want to create. So if we want to get into the pose and we can see what the lighting looks like with this, and I'm going to adjust the position of this a little bit. Let me just see what the first shot looks like right here. I've got to slide back. And we're just looking for what the light looks like. And right now, the first thing I notice is that we've got some really amazing shadow. Now, what we need to do is change where the shadow is positioned. So we're definitely going to need to use your arms to create more of an opening. So if you can slide them down your head a little bit further, down your, almost on the, yeah, a little bit further down on the top of your head. And maybe what we'll try to do is rather than having the hair kind of appear to be the teeth, use the fingers. We can't really bend the elbows. You can't really move your elbows down. Let me move the light a little bit. I'm going to turn the light up. I actually like the lighting on the shot, but I'm going to bring it up a little bit brighter just to see how that looks, because I personally have a tendency to underexpose shots and then get into post-processing later and have to push that exposure, which I don't really like to do because that introduces noise into your shot. So my tendency is to try to overexpose just a little bit and then bring the exposure down. Now, the one thing that I do want to do at this point is hop into the menu on the X-T1 and turn off the live exposure preview so I can actually see Angela in the viewfinder before I press down the shutter button to gain focus. Here we go. Preview exposure in manual mode. I'm turning that off. So that was in back exit. That was under custom functions number 1 under screen setup. There we go. Okay, now I can see with the viewfinder what I'm looking at. So you can drop back into the pose. We can see what this lighting looks like. I need to back up a little bit. The lighting is really nice. So what we need to do is just tweak the pose, because what we're looking at here, your elbows are kind of out like wings, and I don't know how, but we want to try to bring them,
when she gets in her pose,
not necessarily down more, but
I wonder if we can change it all together, because she can't make that. What if she brought used her head more for the eyes, and just had those like here, had her hands down here for the
yeah. Yeah, why don't we try that?
Because there's like, my shoulders look kind of, what if you came more like upward too? Like
Shot from a higher angle?
Yeah, shot from a higher angle too.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Right, rather than tilt her up, I can shoot from a
'Cause
different
then
angle and
it'll
see
look
what
more
that
like
does.
You're getting a forehead and a skull.
Right,
as well.
right.
And my idea was, you know how the hands are up there? So if you brought your hands down here for the teeth instead.
Okay, and I need to
that could
straighten
be
my wrist out because
your-
I'm bending my wrist.
Your
Yeah.
hands and your toes could actually be
The teeth.
and the jaw.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
And then I'll shoot from a higher angle on it.
Okay.
Okay, got it. Super.
All right, so my hands and my teeth, or my hands and
Feet are more like the teeth.
okay.
And then actually slide your hands down even further,
Yeah, right.
and then maybe drop your elbows a little
Put my
bit.
hands like this, or perfect.
No, go ahead and clasp them. Interlace your fingers. Yeah.
Should I get her hair out of there?
Maybe you know what? Let's try actually having her hair over her hands. That way your hair will stay out of in between your legs. That'll give that more volume.
Okay.
Well, that might work. Let me see how this works as a shot. That's all right. So.
Oh, I can see shooting it from the top. That would be a little more what you're going to try to do. That's a good idea.
Yeah, now I definitely need to add more light. Can we, let's see here, slide your hands up a little higher, and I'm just going to adjust your hair over them so that it drops. Yeah, there we go. That'll hold your hair out more too, because I lost a lot of it into the shadows. That I think is good. I might need a bit of a wider lens. We've got the 56. Do you have like a 30, 35-ish or so? Yeah, I think I'm going to switch.
Do my shoulders look rounded like this?
I think they will.
If you drop your elbows a little more, they'll look a little more rounded. Now, one of the other things I've got to do too is I got to put a lot more shadow onto into the I got to adjust the light so that we've got way more shadow in there, in that space there.
Oh, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're definitely getting there though.
We are getting there.
So we switched to the Fuji 35mm f1.4 lens. And again, I'm still shooting at f8, but we went to this to get a bit of a wider angle on the shot so I don't have to back up quite so far into the wall. I've got a bit of a smaller studio here. So we're gonna go and we're working on adjusting the posing to get the shot to look the way we want. And I'm gonna need to adjust the lighting to be throwing more shadow on Angela and on the caverns that are created by her arms as she's posing. Yeah, this makes a big difference in being able to shoot this angle. Oh yeah, that made a huge difference. Okay, here, if you want to take a look, I'm definitely going to need to add another light on your hair. That made a big difference right there.
Oh yeah, dude.
Threw a lot more shadow in. We got a lot more.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so
Got
I'm
it?
gonna bring.
So I'm setting up another light now, and the secondary light is going to be the hair light. In the shot that we have right now, we're getting the light where we want it on her body and in the caverns created by her arms. But what I want to do is add more light to her hair to give it some shine and give it some detail and texture because it's too dark right now. Now, this light is also being triggered by a pocket wizard just like that light is. And this is going to be set to half power. And I forgot to mention earlier, when I adjusted the power on this flash, I increased it by 1 stop from a 1/4 power to a half power. And this flash is also going to be at half power, but I'm using a grid. And because I'm using a grid, the power of this light is actually going to be significantly less than half power because that grid is going to cut so much of the light's intensity. But it's going to allow me to focus the light very tightly on Angela's hair to just light up the hair and give it some shine. So I'm going to position the flash, and Angela, if you can drop back into the pose, I can aim this at your, at your hair. And I want it to come more from the side here. So I'm just going to test fire this. I got to drop it a little bit lower. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to. It's too high. All right, let me think for a second here. So the light right now on this light stand is too high, and I want to aim it lower. So what I'm going to need to do is take it off of this stand and actually put it on just a little shoe that I can use to have it standing on the floor rather than on the light stand. And then I can hopefully aim it right at her hair. So I'm just, again, positioning it, and got to bring it even lower. A little bit higher. And what I'm doing here is I just hit the test button on the flash to see where the light's hitting her and see if it's lighting up the areas that I want it to actually light up. And I think it looks good there. So I'm going to take a shot here and we'll see what it looks like. Thank you, Kim. I added a lot of really nice light to the hair. I think I'm going to increase the power of that light. And we got some nice shadow. I want to move this light. If you want to just hold your spot there. I'm moving this light to change how the light falls on her. And I'm going to increase the power of this flash from half power to full power. It lit up the hair really nicely, but I want even more light in that hair. Yeah, we're starting to get there. We're starting to get there. Let's see here. I'm zooming in. I just want to see how the light's landing on the hair, and I want to try to lower. In fact, I think I might switch from a grid to a snoot so I can aim it even tighter and better, although this might not work. Excuse me. And I'm going to drop the power because the snoot is going to focus the light incredibly tightly, and it's not going to filter it like a grid does. So I got to drop the power significantly in order to reduce the intensity and the power of that light. So let's see what that looks like whenever you're ready. And I'll just need to aim the light. Yeah, that's going to let me aim it much, much better. Much tighter. That should be perfect, just like that, Angela. Thank you. I got to move my light out of my shot. Are you able to drop your elbows down just a little bit, Angela? Or like lower them down, almost like, I don't know how to explain it. Yes, thank you, thank you. Towards you, yeah. And then if we kind of slide your hands up a little bit and then push your hair out more again so that it's got more volume. There we go, like that, yeah. What I'm trying to do is keep this light on your hair and throw more shadow into that.
How's that?
That's good. And I went to 1/16 power on this light, but I'm actually going to come up with it to 1/4 power to put some more light on the hair. Okay, here we go. And this is the process of creating a shot like this. It's constantly refining and testing your shot and testing your light and changing it until you get it to look the way you want it to look. And I think I need to switch back to the grid because this is it's putting too much light into the shadow areas that we want. So I'm gonna go back to the grid on that light, and when I went back to the grid, I increased the power back to full power. Need a break? Okay, so Angela needs a moment to stretch, which is something you definitely want to do when you're shooting with a model. You want to make sure that you pay attention to your model's needs. Contorting yourself to pose can be a really difficult thing to do, and they need breaks, and you want to be mindful of that and make sure that you let them know that. Just have them communicate to you, you know, I need a break, and give them that time so that they can be ready when you're ready to shoot. If you don't communicate with your model, you're not going to have a very successful shoot. All right, so whenever you are ready, let me aim this light.
My elbows and stuff down far enough?
I think so. I'm going to come up a little higher on my shot, my angle too, and that should help the angle that I'm shooting from. I mean,
Do you want the hair tucked in or do you like it out?
I think we'll tuck it in a little bit. Just, I'm going to want to, let's see what that looks like. I'm getting too much light from the hair light. So I'm going to turn that light off for right now and just go back to refining the first light and see if we can work without that second light. Yeah, I like it much better without the hair light. So I'm going to pull that hair light out entirely. We're not going to use that. And we're just going to let this light illuminate both the hair and the areas that we want to illuminate. If you can move your elbows a little bit more towards your body, just a tiny bit, and then open them up a little bit more though. Yeah, like that. And then, yep, that's great, just like that. I like that. Here, you want to take a look? I think if we just refine the posing a little bit.
I think maybe bring that knee in a little
This
more.
one?
This one.
Okay.
That way it'll open that up right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay.
I have to really like tuck it, so.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting there.
Yeah, we're definitely getting there.
Is that better? Is that knee a little more shut?
Like that it is actually. So let me change my angle a little bit more. All right. Can you bring your head up a little bit? Yeah, yep. And then, let me see. I am gonna try a slightly lower angle here and see how that plays. I think the lower angle works a little better.
Does it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just gonna move your hair a little bit. It's on your foot. I'm just gonna slide it in between. There we go.
You want it all up at it?
No, a little bit's okay. I just didn't want it over the foot entirely. I think I like it. I'm just envisioning what I can do with it now that we've got the light and the pose, I think, pretty tight. And it's just a matter of the post-processing that we'll do in Photoshop to give it the kind of the painted look, the grungy look. Let me just pop a couple more and then we can take a break. So once you get things the way you want them while you're shooting, you want to take advantage of that. You want to get a few shots, you want to try different angles, and then take a break and evaluate where you are and decide where you want to go from that point. So I'm just moving around, taking a few shots. I'm going to take about 2 or 3 more, and then I'm going to give Angela a break. There we go. And one of the things I'm loving about this camera is how fast it's focusing. That's really fantastic. It's definitely a hell of a lot faster than my Canon 60D that I normally shoot with. Ooh, let me just adjust position here. I like that angle, but I gotta move my light. And one more and then we can call it. Oh, I like that one too, that I just shot. Can you bring your head up just a hair for me? There we go, good. So that's how we created the shot, and obviously the shot that we created here is before the post-processing I do to get the final look. And if you're interested in seeing a video where I show you how I do that post-processing, let me know down in the comments. Now before I wrap up this video, like I said, I want to talk about the Fuji X-T1 camera. And so I've got some notes here and I just want to share my thoughts. First of all, mirrorless cameras in general are very exciting to me. I love what they're doing to push photography forward. Very excited about one thing in particular, which is the electronic viewfinder and the manual focusing aids that come along with those electronic viewfinders. With the shoot, I didn't use manual focusing. I was attempting to use back button focus on the Fuji X-T1, and I know it's possible, but the setup wasn't working quite right, which is just a matter of me figuring out the settings, and I didn't want to take too much time to figure it out in the studio. Now, one thing I really liked is how fast the Fuji X-T1 focused when I was shooting in the studio. It was really, really fast and it was really, really accurate, and I loved that. One of the things that these Fuji X series cameras were getting beat up for in the beginning was their pretty weak focusing, but they have clearly spent a lot of time and effort perfecting that because the X-T1 was fast and accurate when I was using it in the studio. I like the body style of the X-T1, which is sort of an old SLR style versus the rangefinder style mirrorless. There's nothing wrong, generally speaking, with the rangefinder style body. I just prefer this DSLR style body with the hump because I use pocket wizards and I use flash quite a bit. And what I found is with rangefinder style bodies, when I put the flash on the camera or when I put the pocket wizard on the camera, it impedes my ability to get at controls and functions that I want to use. So I like the body style of the X-T1. One of the things I was not crazy about is that the ISO knob has a plunger, a lock button that you need to push down in order to change the ISO, which makes one-handed operation not quite so easy, because if you're holding the camera up, you can't just spin that ISO dial, which is over on the top left. You got to push in the button, and pushing in that button and then spinning the dial with your fingers is kind of hard. So you got to come down and adjust it that way, which you know, isn't my favorite thing in the world. It's not a deal breaker for sure, but it's something that I definitely noticed would impede my ability to shoot up here, which is what I like to be able to do. I like to be able to change all of my critical settings with the camera in front of my face. The overall camera felt really good in my hands. It was really comfortable, really easy to use. I love the electronic viewfinder. It was really beautiful. Looking through that viewfinder was really big, which was wonderful. And I really was happy with the images that came out of the camera. You can look at this shot that we created in full resolution at a link down in the description. So if you want to pixel peep, you can go right ahead. But generally speaking, Fuji has been lauded for the beautiful images that they create with their X-Trans sensor. The bottom line is I really enjoyed using the Fuji X-T1 camera, and I would certainly consider buying it. I would need to do some more research. I would need to probably handle it and use it a little bit more before I decided 100% that it was going to be like my main camera. But I absolutely enjoyed using it, and I would definitely put it in the top of my list as cameras to consider if I was looking at a new camera. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions about the shoot, about Angela, about the Fuji X-T1, let me know down in the comments. And then do me a huge favor, would you like this video and subscribe to my channel if you really like this video, maybe share it with your friends, but the most important thing you need to do is get out there and take some damn photos. I don't care what camera you use. I'll see you guys on Thursday with our Q&A.